Hello and welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you my Golgari Midrange Deck for Outlaws of Thunder Junction's Standard Ranked. Now, I've had a lot of fun with this deck and it's been quite successful as well. It does really well against aggro decks in the meta, like Mono Red and Boros Convoke, because it packs a ton of removal and strong creatures of its own. It wins by controlling the early game and then building a big enough threat through our creatures that we can just run away with the game. It's faster than the control decks in the meta, so we should always find a way to win out against them and also survive against the aggro decks and then beat them in the mid game. For removal, we have quite a lot. We have a couple of copies of Cut Down, 4 Go for the Throat, a copy of Shoot the Sheriff. This is for if we come up against artifact decks. Alongside Tear of Sunder, again, artifact or enchantment removal. We have a Liliana of the Veil, mainly just for removal. And 2 copies of Path of Peril. Now this one is quite important, especially coming up against a lot of aggro decks. For 2 black and 1, it destroys all creatures with mana value 2 or less, so very good for controlling early game aggro decks. I also put a Tranquil Thrill back in too, because being able to select one of the 3 or all 3 if you have enough mana is really good, because this can destroy an artifact or enchantment, exile a target player's graveyard, or gain 4 life, or all 3 if you have enough mana. A versatile card that's good in a lot of different scenarios. I only have 1 in there because you need to pay the extra mana, and we have better 3-drops like Glyssa, for example. Higher up in our curve, we have 2 copies of Gix's Command. Really good removal, and it's quite versatile too, so it can be used in a lot of different scenarios. Being able to destroy all creatures with power 2 or less, return creatures from your grave, or make your opponent sack their biggest creature. It's very useful and has a ton of value, especially in this deck. I also put a copy of Virtue of Persistence. Now, a lot of the time we won't really be playing this on the enchantment side, but having the 2 mana removal or giving a creature -3/-3 and gaining the 2 life, it's one more way to stay in the game against aggro decks, because of the life gain, really. We do have a way to play the enchantment side as well, because our MVP of the deck is actually Goldvein Hydra. Now this card's amazing. It's one of the new cards from the newest set. It has Vigilance, Trample, Haste, and when it enters the battlefield, it enters with X 1/1 counters on it. So X is whatever you pay for it, and even if you pay like 2 mana, if this dies, it's going to create a number of tapped treasure tokens equal to its power. So whether you play this early in the game or later to close out a game, it's good in all stages of the game. If you do play it early, then obviously you can ramp up and play your bigger threats ahead of the curve, again taking more advantage in a game. So amazing card. I'll definitely recommend throwing at least 2 or 3 copies of this in. Another card you shouldn't overlook that's quite important to our deck is the Mosswood Dread Knight. This card just adds a ton of value. For a black and 1, you can draw a card and lose a life, so it's going to give you card advantage. You can also play it then after on the creature side as a 3/2 creature with trample, and when that dies, you can start the adventure again. So you get a ton of value from this card. In our 3-drop slot, we have a Graveyard Trespasser. This is just to disrupt any graveyard decks by exiling cards from their graveyard. But it is also a really good 3-drop. For 3 mana, you get a 3/3 with Ward that has discard a card. And of course it can flip into the werewolf side. The Tranquil Throwback, we covered that before. And one of our best 3-drops, Glissa Sunslayer. Now this has First Strike and Death Touch, it's a 3/3, but when it deals combat damage to a player, we get to choose one. And that can be draw a card and lose a life, destroy a target enchantment, or remove 3 counters from a target permanent. Again, this just gives us value, and card advantage is probably the most important thing. It's just drawing cards, having answers to everything, and winning out games. Perfect addition to the Golgari deck, and it fits really well into the 3-drop slot. Up here we obviously have our 3 copies of Sheldred. Now this is amazing for this deck because we're going to be losing life and drawing cards through Glissa and Mosswood Dread Knight. This basically turns the negative into a positive because we won't be losing life, we'll be gaining life and drawing cards, so that's amazing. Also the Preacher of the Schism here, I think I went past this. A 2/4 Death Touch, but when it attacks, you either draw a card and lose 1 life, create a 1/1 vampire creature token. Again, really good for board advantage, and also that will trigger the Sheldred if you draw a card. Up in the 5 mana, we have Acolytes, just another way to close out a game with the flying and lifelink. The lifelink also giving us a way to stay in games. Yeah, and then coming around to our instant sorceries, not a lot happening, but we do have 1 copy of the new card that allows us to tutor or search for our library for a card and put that card on top. Or we can choose to draw 3 cards and lose 3 life. Obviously we can offset that again with Sheldred gaining the life. That's great. And we have a copy of Pillage of the Bog as well, just to look for answers if we need. Coming over into our land, nothing too special, just like dual lands. We have a Abandoned Maya and a Beseiju Who Endures. Good lands. I recommend putting them in the deck. This one can actually destroy artifact or enchantments, so very useful in a lot of matchups, especially against artifact specific decks. I've added a white and black land and a green and white land. The reasoning for this is so that later in the game, if our opponents do manage to build a board with some bigger creatures, we can actually then pay the cleave cost on our Path of Peril. So this card becomes good early game and late game. I put 4 copies of the Restless Cottage in as well. Being able to turn your land into a 4/4 is pretty good. On attack though, this also gets to exile a card from your opponent's graveyard. So if they are playing a graveyard deck or are trying to pull off some graveyard shenanigans, you can put a stop to that. Upon exiling a card, you also get a food token which you can sack for 3 life to also remain in a game if life is an issue. And last but not least, Cavern of Souls, and this is in the deck because of blue players. Must they say more? On the sideboard, it's just different forms of removal. So Shoot the Sheriff, this is mainly for best of 3. For artifact decks, yeah, just some different types of removal, and a hearse here for graveyard decks. But that's about it, guys. That's the deck I'm going to be playing today, so I'll jump into some games in just a second. Don't forget to leave a like if you enjoy this kind of content. Deck list and everything will be in the description below if you want to check it out. And yeah, without further ado, let's jump into some games. Alright, into game 1 here, and we get to go first. We have 4 lands in hand, we have a board clear, and a Goldvein Hydra. So I'm happy to keep this hand, and if we come up against aggro, then we're going to have a good time. Alright, going first, we're going to throw down our Restless Cottage. Tap land first. And it looks like mono red aggro, so we're going to have a good time today. We're going to play our Swamp, and we will pass here. Now we have options next turn, either Path of Peril or Goldvein Hydra. Goldvein Hydra probably be... I think that might die. It's an X cost. Path of Peril. I'm going to go with Goldvein here, where X is equal to 2. We will have a blocker, but we'll also be able to try and entice them to play some more creatures out that we can clear up with Path of Peril. Kind of want them to try and dump their hand. I think our life total is acceptable to be able to leave this for one more turn. That's right. Now I'll block the Swift Spear here. He has 1 mana open, so I'm guessing that this is going to die. If it does, though, I'll get the treasures and lots of sweet things. Alright, we get our treasure, we play our land, and we wipe the board. And we're in a good position here, guys. Alright, how much mana we got? 7 mana. Alright, go like this. Play this on the creature side. And then Gix command. Alright, looking good. We have ways to get stuff back from the grave, so we can bring back the Hydra if we really want to. Bird might be a problem, but we have things to deal with it. We have plenty of ways to deal with this. And we draw an answer. May as well discard the Abandoned Maya here. Now, as long as they don't have a burn spell or anything with haste, we should take the victory here. I can also attack with the Restless Cottage next turn and get a food token, so that might be beneficial. And it wasn't enough. Well, we're going to have to get rid of that. Which means we now cannot attack with our land, but we can play our Hydra for 3. Now, do we die to burn? Or have we got a W. Alright, we just have to get past one more card. Alright, we'll get our land, turn that into a creature, and it should be GG. There's game 1, guys. Alright, into another game here. We only have a 2-land hand, but we do have cards that we can play with those 2 lands, so I'm going to keep here. The Mosswood Dread Knight will draw us a card, so there's another chance of our 3rd land. We draw our 3rd land, so we're actually golden. We're going to start by playing the Mosswood Dread Knight on the adventure. Draw a card and lose a life. Yep. Well, we can play that Mosswood Dread Knight. And I really wanted to keep this for the enchantment removal because it looks like Celestia enchants. But I do also want to ensure our land enters the battlefield, so we will play it. Right. Well, we can use cut down on the appraiser, and we can play our 2nd copy of Dread Knight. Now we can kill the Hammer Skull here if we want to. We can just replay our Dread Knights anyway. And it might even be beneficial because we missed a land drop there, so drawing more cards won't be bad. I did not see that one coming. Tutorial lockdown, but no attacks, so that's quite odd. I would like those back, please, and we can do that by using the Tranquil Fillback. So we'll auto-pay for 1 charge, and that be destroy target enchantment. And we get our Dread Knights back. He's gonna take the hose. That was big, but it's alright. It's got a stun counter. Probably just exile that though. Yeah, I'm going to exile it. I can't risk another 8 to the face because he has this flashback. Health is just a resource anyway, and we have ways to gain health in the deck, so as long as it's not 0, we're alright. Opponent must be thinking hard about the turn. On our turn, we can either play some removal, get our Hydra going, or we can shoot it for some cards or draw some. We have a couple of options, but it's obviously reactive to what our opponent does here. So another Hammer Skull. Alright, I'm guessing that he's going to have the same game plan. That's going to be Vigilance, Trample, Indestructible, Lifelink, all that jazz. So I think Pillage the Bog is our best option because we get to look at the top X cards. X means 10. We can find ourselves to go for the throat, and we can get rid of it. And then we can swing in for an additional 6 damage. This thing doesn't give them haste, so as long as there's no hasty boys, we're good. Our opponent just passes. That's interesting. So we have 2 plays. Our first one being Acolytes. And to be honest, I think that's good. If this resolves, we can start affecting their hand and gain our life back. We will have a blocker up ready to go. And if we do get more mana, we can play Goldbane Hydra for more. I'm thinking they have some sort of removal, because I don't know why else you'd pass with all the mana open. Okay, so we see them discard a Trumping Baronosaur. And we get a concede. Okay, into the third game here. We have a 3-land hand. We have things we can play. But our opponent gets to go first. I'm still going to keep this hand. And we'll see what we're up against in just a second here. Could quite possibly be Boros Convoke. In which case, we kind of want to get to 5 mana for Gix's command as soon as we can. We can do that through the Hydra, so turn 1, we'll just play our Restless Cottage and pass. Alright, land for turn, and because nothing's on the field, we can actually use our Mosswood Dread Knight, draw a card and lose a life. We hit our second copy of Gix's command. If this is Boros Convoke, then it's going to be good. going to go Glisser here because I think they're going to prioritize spells over removal, or like their own spells. So the chances of this sticking is good. And it does. So we can now play land for turn and get our Hydra going as X equals to 3. Actually, I have a better option. Let's play our Liliana and get rid of their Monastery Mentor, because that's going to create a ton of tokens if I leave it.
I'll have this fight finished before brunch.
Ah, one of your friends has to leave.
Okay, so that's been removed. And we can swing in 3 damage. If this connects, we will also draw a card. It does not. It gets destroyed, but that's okay. We still have an empty board state. So we're in a good position. I'm happy for that to go at Liliana. She's done her job.
Fine,
And that
I'll
prevents
take
2
my
damage
zombies
to the
and leave.
face. We can now play a pretty big Hydra, and we're not so worried about Gix's command having only 1 creature on the field. This also has Vigilance, so it can block as well as attack this turn. So X will be equal to 4. Swing for 4 damage. %100% blocking this. And he's probably going to play Monstrous Rage. Yep, hold it. It is a trade, however, and I will get the treasure tokens. No longer a trade, but I'll still get the tokens. Alright, I'm going to have to play a Gix's command to remove this. I'm not going to let that stick around for another turn. First of all though, I think I'm going to put my I'll put my creature down, because then I can give it 1/1 counters. But first of all, let's see what's in the graveyard. We've got Glissa and Goldbane Hydra. So actually this is a better play, we'll do this. Make them sack their creature and return 2 of ours from the graveyard to our hand, being the Hydra and Glissa. And why not play one? We'll leave it like that. We'll keep 2 treasure open for potentially shoot the sheriff. Otherwise, it's just extra mana for next turn now. Alright, so we can play the Goldbane Hydra for quite a sufficient amount. That being 3, 4, 5. We can pay the X's 6 here. He potentially still could have removal, but hey, it's got to come out at some stage. If he doesn't remove it, that's 6 extra damage to the face. Alright, well we're sitting in a good spot. We got our hand cancel. Our opponent just concedes. There you go. Okay, into another game here. We get to go first, and we only have a 2-land hand. So I'm probably going to mulligan this, because we have no other way to draw cards with 2 lands. We get a 3-land hand, so that's much better. Actually 4. But we will keep this. And I'll probably put the Swamp back. Actually, no. Put Shattered Sanctum back. Play my land that enters tap first, because why not? My guy here has got some nice sleeves. Okay, turn 2 we play our land, and I'm gonna take our Mosswood Dreadnought on an adventure. Alright, I'm gonna start off with Glissa. I didn't see that one coming, but that's fine. It's totally fine. We're gonna go for the throw. Then we can play our Dread Knight as the creature. Swing in for our 3 damage. And draw a card and lose 1 life. A second Glissa, E2B. I say let's just press the attack. We'll exile the Glissa. Play our land and Surveil 1. I don't think we need that because we have Gix's command. We'll put that in the graveyard. Then we can attack. Draw a card, lose a life. We hit Aqualox. Aquazox, that's really good. Land for turn, and then we play our big bat. See if he wants to trade on the Mosswood Red Knight. He does not. Okay, well, 1 turn away from victory here, unless he does something. Alright, we see him exile our bat, but we have a Sheldred now, so let's get that on the battlefield. Three damage from the Dread Knight, 2 from Sheldred, putting him to 4 health. Big Storm the Festival here. He only gets a 1-drop though, a 1/1. I think that's a bit of a whiff, and with that said, I think the game is now ours. In fact, 100%, we've got this. GG's. Alright, into another. We start off with 2 Mosswood Dread Knights, so it's a pretty good hand to keep because we can draw more cards. We also have removal, form of a board wipe, and single target, so it's definitely a keeper. Start with the Loop Marsh. Okay, a red and white land. Could be Boros. Our turn 1 still draw a card, Mosswood Dread Knight. We see the Harvester, so a little different. Could be Rakdos. Not sure what we're up against, but I'm still sure we'll do okay. So I'll play my Dread Knight. I know he can sack his thing to kill it, but that's like a trade and I'm happy for that to happen. So it looks like a vampire deck. If he's chosen vampire for both his Cavern of Souls, it's more than likely just a vampire deck. Let's do a little cleanup here. So we just clear the board, do 3 damage, and then we'll see what he comes up with on him. Some more aggressive cards that we can deal with. I'm going to go and just drop a Path of Peril here. Yes, I kill my own thing, but I also get to draw a card. And I can also replay the Mosswood Dread Knight next turn. It's like such amazing value, and I don't know why more people aren't still playing this card. Alright, we draw our Hydra, and I think we're going to have to make use of this. I'm going to play it for 4. Cannot be counted. Haste, Vigilance, and Trample. And our opponent just takes the 4 damage. Alright, that's alright. Okay. Now we have options. Let's get our Dread Knight back in the field. Let's get our... Actually, let's drop Liliana. That way, Agatha's Cauldron can't do anything to this, which can sacrifice itself.
This is my home, and I don't appreciate it when people touch my things. Haven't you ever heard of personal space?
We'll save those treasures, actually. Let's press the advantage. So we're in a pretty good spot. It's going to be very hard for our opponent to come back from this now. I'm going to just, if I try and target it, I'm going to try anyway, and we'll see what happens. He might just sack it to take out one of my things. And he does, and we're okay with that. We'll be able to draw another card. Play an additional card and swing in for our 3 damage. I'm not going to +1 Liliana because I don't want to drop the cards I have. Looks like it's all over. We'll play Outlaws of attack for 6. And say go. Unless they draw like a board clear, I don't see them coming back. And that's it. GG's.